Paranoid Radio, Fright
Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Paranoid. Tell me, boy.
Testicles, 1, 2, testicles. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paranoid Radio Podcast, the best show with the best content for the best listeners. And I am Trebles Garcia, the humble host of this amazing adventure. I want to thank every single one of you for joining us one more time, for allowing me to enter your space. And I also want to thank God for allowing me to be here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to let you guys know that paranoidradio.com is now available on all podcast platforms, and it's absolutely free to stream while it's now up and coming, and also under construction. Paranoidradio.com. You can not only listen to the last 5 episodes, but also watch the most recent 2 episodes absolutely free, unfiltered, unbothered, and unedited. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to give thanks to our next special guest. Before that, I also want to let you guys know that if you drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, that allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. So make sure you drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Now, I also want to send us massive shout out. Happy birthday to Shaylin. Happy birthday to Shaylin for being an amazing daughter and having an amazing mom. Shout outs, and this episode goes out to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. She's going to love that.
Really, I really hope she does, and she tunes in and continues to tune in. Now, please allow me to jump in from the deep end of the pool and set the fucking mood. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Heidi Love, who is thrilled to embark on her own podcast journey since May 2023 with Unfiltered Rise. As an ex-Mormon who spent 34 years immersed in the faith, she broke free 13 years ago and have since became passionate about sharing her experiences and insights. During her time as a devoted member, she went through all the endowments and temple rights, giving her a unique perspective that she will share in tonight's episode. Expect a deep dive into the intricacies of her journey with an open conversation and a thought-provoking discussion. When not behind the mic, she is proud to be a registered nurse with more than 24 years of experience, specializing in psychiatric nursing. She never took a jab, no, she never gave one. Her role allows her to make a difference in the lives of those struggling with mental health, like myself, and she couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity. But wait, there's more. She's also a mama of 6 amazing kids. How the fuck does she do it? Alongside her amazing husband, which is another kid, if anything, and a fur baby doggy. If you're curious more to follow her about her podcast and about her adventure, make sure you check us out or check her out and connect with her on Instagram, and check out the link on the description of this show. Now, please, let's embark on the journey down this rabbit hole that is Mormons. Welcome to Heidi Love from the Unfiltered Rise podcast. How you doing?
I'm a little hoarse, but I am here. We're not letting any weird voices shut us down. So
weird. Yeah, I had a lot of those in my head right now, and I was stuttering towards the end for some odd reason. Normally, I knock these out of the park. How you doing, Heidi?
I'm like, screech, screech, screech. I'm like a 13-year-old pubescent boy. That's what's up. I got my voice going on.
Tell us about you, Heidi. Let us know how'd you get started. What is it? What is your podcast about, and how can they find you?
I am at the Unfiltered Rise service wherever podcasts are serviced, and also on YouTube. We are a newer podcast, but I don't think we lack content. I think that my little trip into podcast land was pretty interesting. So I think it's just genuine. I don't hold a whole lot back. I'm very just like, this is what it is. And either you love me or hate me. That's been my whole life. So
you look great. You have great insight. You have a great voice. And I really appreciate you being here today, not only with us, but with our listeners. And I want to make sure that everybody knows where to find you. Unfiltered Rise on Instagram and all podcasting platforms. And you're also going to be able to find her on the links on the description of this episode, and also on paranoidradio.com. Make sure you check her out. And if you can, drop a 5-star review on her podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you the invite, really. This is
Yes.
great to get together and collaborate, and that's what it's all about. So I appreciate
Talking
you.
about
Yes.
collaborating, you blew my mind today. Now I want to give some insight. This is some real life insight. Now, Chef Baby Boy, aka Baby Boy from Sunday Night Secret Society's podcast, put us
Yes,
a link up.
baby
And
boy, shout out, baby boy.
shout outs to my homie Chef Baby Boy, aka. He told me that you have some great insight on the Mormon religion, and I want to call it mostly cult. So now I'm not stepping on any toes here, but you gave me a list. You overwhelmed me today. I was at work and I was like, what the fuck is going on? You sent me a list of a bunch of art, symbols, and intrigued definitions and a lot of pictures that I couldn't put together, piece together. So I'm going to allow you, and I'm gonna give you the platform where you're gonna be able to, you know, ricochet and then slingshot this into the people's minds. But before anything,
Awesome.
give us a little bit about your experience in the Mormon religion. How'd you get out? 13 years, bro. 13 years ago.
I know, 13
Okay.
years ago. So I say we a lot when I refer to Mormons, and I like
Yeah.
to give a little disclaimer is that I still live in Utah, and that's like the
Ouch.
Mecca of Mormons. So I say we just because I was in it for so long. I'm speaking about Mormons, so I'm just going to end up saying we. I don't want to be a Mormon anymore, obviously. So I just put that out there. And also, a lot of the things we're going to talk about tonight, they aren't things that other podcasts always do because they feel they're the sacred rights of their temple ordinances. And so most people will not speak about them. But here is my thing on that. I'm not doing this to make fun of anyone. I don't do this to mock your stance. I do this because I feel victimized, and I'm not going to keep it in the dark. So apologies.
Wait, there could be repercussions for you doing this?
Well,
You live in Utah, girl.
I know.
I mean, wow.
I
And
know.
I heard great things about Utah, but not so many great things about the political structure in Utah.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they have a lot of lobbying power and money laundering and a lot of other what we would like to call unfair, unjust, and illegal practices in Mormon land. For example, the first one will be polygamy, and the you know, not only you can have as many wives as you want. I don't fucking care.
Right.
But the underage thing is when I start
Yeah.
getting a little trippy. I have two
Like-
beautiful daughters. I mean, if something happens like that, you know, you're gonna have to go over my fucking dead body.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, and yeah, so multiple times when I've gotten on to do podcasts, people are like, you want to put this out? I'm like, yeah, because here's the thing. Every time I go on, I'm like, I would never kill myself. I would never unalive myself. I would never do anything like that. And I have a big community behind me that knows that. And so putting it out there one more time, I would never do that. And so, yeah, there could be serious repercussions. And I have not, it's really hard to get your name off of the list of the Mormons. Once you're in, they don't want to relinquish, and you have to go through a legal process to get it off. So yeah, it's a sitch. And they still count your numbers. They count you. They count me. If you have ever had your records on, they still count you unless you go through the legal process. So I keep waiting for them to be like, yo, we saw your stuff, you're kicked out. And I'm like, cool, because then they saved me the effort, you know. But yeah, it hasn't happened yet. But yeah,
what's the chance?
I mean,
what is the statistic number? Now, before we get into the juicy part, because this whole thing is fucking juicy already.
It's crazy, right?
Before you even jump into like the details of the experience and what all these symbols mean, which is fucking wild, you're telling me that they have a roll call and they can call you back, or they still have you on the list. They count you as part of the congregation. So it's not a regular schmo, freaking fall apart Protestant doctrine. No, this is a whole, this is like the fucking military. They got you on the list.
They got me. They got me.
Are you still paying your dues, like 10% off your check?
No, they don't get nothing from me. They get the finger. I mean, not all of them. There's a lot of good Mormon people. Like anything, like you can say government is corrupt, but then you might know a sheriff or a cop that you really like. It's the same thing for Mormons. So I'm not saying all of them get the finger from me. There's some good people, you know, there's good people out there in the world.
Structure mostly, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest problem is in Utah, I would say 8 out of 10 people are Mormon, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So
oh God, that's huge.
yeah.
That's a huge, massive.
it's like when I grew up, it was like, oh, my parents were like, so if you're familiar with, I don't know if you're Catholic or what your background is, but if you know about Catholics, there's the people that go like on Easter and Christmas. Those are called Jack Mormons in our religion. And
So
my
there's
parents,
sex.
yeah,
Mm,
so
yeah.
they were Jack Mormons. And so, but they made me go with the neighbors because they were like, oh, structure, that's good, whatever,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
that's fine. Back then it was fine. But what I'm saying is even though they were Jack Mormons and even though I'm off the list, they still come to my house and I'm like, no, don't. I'm not
Hey,
trying to be
fellow
rude.
sister.
Yeah. And I'm like, and then they play games. They play games. Like the last time they did it, they were like,
Uh,
well, it's really cold and we need to use the bathroom. And I'm a Christian, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't tell this girl she can't use. What if she really needs to go? So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then they start like talking to my daughter about stuff. I'm like, okay, it's time to go. And so yeah, they have
wow.
tricks. They have tricks up their sleeves. So that was funny enough. But then my mom lives like a few miles away. And she said, you know how they said they used that bathroom thing? They did that to me too this week. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, that's some nonsense. And I
Yeah.
do apologize, everyone. I got the asthma, bronchitis, like I said, sorry about it.
Upon you opening up the gates of Mormon hell for me, I did some like research and I found out that these people were even not only buying lobbyists left and right, and wherever the money goes, there's corruption. I also found out there were people siphoning and money laundering in Utah. Now I've never been
Oh,
to Utah, and I don't know anything about Utah. I just know that the freaking name it's it's weird. It's one of the I don't
yeah.
know anything about Utah. So now I'm finding out that the Mormon culture, the Mormon religion, is connected with higher elites, and they resemble a lot on the Freemasonry and
Oh,
Freemasonry
yeah,
symbolism.
they don't resemble it. They actually, so Joseph Smith, the founding father of the church, was a Freemason. He was a top Mason,
Hmm.
and actually that's what got him killed. And so because he went through and got his Freemason ceremony rites, and they go through a temple, sound familiar? And
Hmm.
a month later, he said, oh, I got a revelation from God about the temple too. And now we're going to do these rituals, but he changed them a little bit. So all those handshakes I sent you, those weird handshakes and all the things, it's because they use the same exact thing, but they changed the name. That's it.
He
And so
revealed a lot of their
yeah,
secrets. I
yeah.
like to
Oh,
say the
yeah.
Freemasons are not a secret society; they're a society with secret. That's all it is.
Yep.
And so what made you tick? What was the thing that 13 years ago made you change your mind completely? I want that big fish. I want that
You
port of
got
the
it.
story.
So actually it's more about planting seeds. And that's why I always tell people, don't give up on people. Always plant the seed, because you never know. As much as I was indoctrinated and in it, like I was in it, when
Huh.
when my mom got out, my mom became a Stevens minister for a non-denominational Christian church. And she
Uh-huh.
would plant these little seeds like, blah, 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 da, da, da. And I'm like, that's not true. Blah, blah, blah. So, and then I met my husband, and he's been out since he was 16. And he never went
Wow.
through like the big stuff. He got out early. He jumped off that boat. And so he would tell me the same stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'll look at it. And then little by little, the more I found out, the more I was like, okay, no, this is not good. This doesn't
Mhm.
make sense. And so luckily, I got to see and have eyes to see and ears to hear, because I was in it. I was sold hook, line, and sinker. I did all the things like all the time. And it was probably, I always tell people, it was really the most, and I'm maybe other people love it, but it was like the most miserable time of my life. I was never sicker, more tired, had more medical problems, any of the stuff. And the problem with me is my family, like in my DNA swab, it says Mormon, Pioneer, Setter. Like it's like in my DNA. And so
What?
there's no escaping this. Yeah.
It's in your
And so
DNA. Wait, you what the fuck? How'd you get this? You sent your blood into a blood sample thing,
I
and then they
know.
sent you back.
Remember, I was a normal. I was normie. So I did the little spit thing, for
Uh-huh.
ancestry. Well, Mormons are obsessed with genealogy, and they have another thing that feeds into ancestry.com called Family Search. And I'll explain why they're obsessed with it. But
Okay.
I did that, and down my little list, like Irish, whatever, Scottish, blah, 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 Mormon pioneer settler. And so
How does that even happen?
yeah,
How is that a
happens.
race?
I was like, oh, damn,
You
I
don't
can't
think
even
these
get rid of
people,
it.
because I mean, look, this all goes into a data bank. And I assume, right? This
Yep.
hypothetically say I have fair skin, I'm Caucasian, I live in Utah, and I don't want to take no part in this anymore, or I am part of it, or I'm having doubts about it, and I tell anybody about it, word gets out, it travels through the elites real quick, and then I send a swab over. These people have connections in the highest elite, out of the data bank, out of the state, and then they send back results that only make them look. I mean, if they could freaking if they could put a thumbprint on the Bible, you think they can't put a thumbprint on your letter, on your mail?
And with me being a nurse, I have to upload all my fingerprints into the digital ID system.
Oh, get the fuck out
I'm
of here.
like, I'm like, you know what? I have nothing to fear at this point. They know where I am. You know what I mean? So I just am like, let's go. Like, it's fine. I just tell everyone, like, okay, if anything happens to me, look at it, because I wouldn't do anything to myself. So
what were some of the things that made you, that you thought that were out of line, that they stepped over the line? If you don't mind sharing.
No, I don't. I'm a very open book, so you don't have to worry about that at all. So after you get out, you start learning the things they hide from you. It's very much like Jehovah's Witness. They say things like, they had a campaign. This is like a real campaign. When the internet started getting big, it was doubt your doubts, don't doubt your faith. And they would say, if you have to look up something, come to our website. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to get me the answers I need, So you start looking outside, and I'm like, wait, Joseph Smith had wife. Like, they said he wasn't a polygamist. My whole life, they said, no, he wasn't. And so I'm like, wait a minute, what? Why does he say he has almost 40 wives? And then they're like, oh, yeah. And then they were like, okay, well, Freemasonry. Now they have a whole thing on it because they can't hide it anymore. So now they're like, hi, we're the Mormons. Yes, you may have noticed we have Freemason symbols. Like, if you go on YouTube, it's hilarious. And so they can't hide it anymore because it's just all gone, And so I'm like seeing this, I'm seeing that, I'm seeing the occult beginnings, which I want to save and full dive into. I was like, I'm out. Like, this is no, I'm a smart person. I study a lot. When I found that one, I was like, okay, this is demonic. Yeah, I'm done.
Demonic.
And so demonic. Yeah. Because you saw some of the things that I sent you. And I don't think you would see that in any other church. Like, they always say, oh, we're just like any other church. Okay. You've been to some churches, I'm sure, in your life. Have you ever seen any of the stuff I sent you today?
No, none of that. I mean, look, I've seen some weird Freemason symbol on the cornerstone of Catholic churches and cathedrals, and that's because, I mean, they have everything, they're tied into everything. I also know that the Catholics use ancient knowledge, and they put acoustic properties into their walls, into their architecture, into their art. I know this, into their music, even the fucking the humming shit that they do. Whatever. Okay, so I know if they could do that, I can only imagine what the Freemasons do. Now, the Freemasons are, I mean, the Mormons. Now, the Mormons are doing this in your face. Like, this is right in front of you. I've been, I drove past, and I've been in the outskirts, an outside facility of that giant cathedral church, Mormon church in San Diego. And it's a wild place. And the moment you walk into that place, I got an eerie feeling. Like, I was followed by gargoyles, and like, I felt like,
I'm so glad you understand. I'm so glad you understand.
The buildings paint white, but I felt a dark cloud. So it's like, even the way it's like pointed up. I don't know, dude. The architecture is wild, and it resembles something different, right? It resembles like the gates of something else.
And because I feel like what they're doing, so if we go to the temples, and I'm not sure how we want to break it down, but the temples are not accessible for everyone. You have to be worthy to go in there. You cannot go in there after it's been dedicated. If it's a brand new building, and they have cornerstones like Freemasons and dedications like Freemasons and all the things. I'm gonna tell you a lot of Freemasons. So I mean, when you grow up, it's great. When you're in primary, because here everyone is Mormon. So if you're not Mormon, you're kind of ostracized. Like the
Okay.
families are like, oh, your parents aren't Mormon, they can't play. You know what I mean? Like you can't play with our kids. And so,
Wow.
yeah, it's gotten a little better over the years, but not a lot because I have my own kids and I see it there too.
Mhm.
And so I'm always like pretty secretive, especially about like my podcasting. I'm like, oh, don't tell your friends what mommy does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
at least what it's about. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, long story short, you have to be worthy. That's the word to get into that temple. And your whole life from when you're a little girl, like there's songs like someday I'm gonna go to the temple. Like it's all indoctrinated into you. And like so they just ram it like in your brain. So you think like this is gonna be my best day ever. And before every day before that, there were some things that were weird, but it was much less weird than when I went to the temple.
How weird did it get, dude? Because you keep
We're
don't
going.
dance around the question. Get into it.
So when you go to the temple, you either are going to go serve a mission and that's like 18-year-old kids, okay, 21 for girls because they want us married. And so, yeah.
To 8 different men. No, wait, no.
Gosh, yeah. Well, nowadays, no. But yes, back in the day, they wanted you married to one guy with 20 different wives. But now
There we go. That's what I meant.
mainstream is like, they don't do that. They say, oh, that's not for us because they wouldn't give them statehood here in Utah until they cut it out. And so they had to renounce it. And Wilford Woodruff said like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. But also he was like, I mean, that I know of like that, you know what I mean? He was like, oh, but yeah, whatever. And so I'm like, and it's kind of sad because like, what do the families do? Like with all these other kids and wives, like you're going to just throw them out on the road. Like it's a touchy situation even now because okay, say she did get married at 14. What is she going to do for a living? She got 5 kids. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's a horrible situation, but that's a different branch. That's the FLDS. And so the FLDS are the people that look like Little House on the Prairie. And then the mainstream Mormons are like the normal, just they go to church and then there's the reorganized LDS church, which is back east more. And they denounced polygamy. The minute that Joseph Smith died, his wife was like, yeah, that polygamy thing was never a thing. Because she didn't like it. Yeah, and I don't blame that girl. I wasn't with that. No. And so she was like, listen, sons, that wasn't true. So they were like, okay. So they made their own church. So I was in the mainstream. And once you get to go through, you either are doing that mission or you're getting married. So it's supposed to be your best day ever. You've looked forward to this your whole life, right? And it's your wedding day. So here you are. If you have a family that's all LDS, your family's there. If they're not worthy and they do not care if it is your dad, he ain't coming. You don't get in. There's no pass to, it's the temple. And the temple is like the holy of holies. And so you're not getting in.
The real ritualistic stuff happens where the real dark cult freaking appraising
the weird stuff I sent you.
The weird shit you sent me. Would you help me break down that Abrac? The whole thing? Like, can you do that, please?
Okay. The House of Abrac, Lucy Mack Smith made a biography, and that was Joseph Smith's mother, and she published it. So they can't like get rid of it. They tried. Brigham Young, the next takeover president, tried to burn them all because she had said in there, do not think just because we've paused for a moment that we are not still making circles and giving ourselves to the House of Abrac. Well, Abrac is Abraxas, and that's where abracadabra comes from. So Abraxas is a demon, and they call it the chicken snake god because he looks like a chicken and a snake.
I've heard of this. I've heard of this on tinfoil hat.
Yes.
Around.
No, it's real. Yes. And so the chicken snake god.
I call them the viper cock. The viper.
Yes. Yes. And so that is a real demon. And that demon is a necromancer. So remember that because it's going to come into play. Yeah. And so the things that happen in the temple, when you go through, and they tried to like annihilate that, like say, no, we weren't doing none of that. And I mean, it's there. They can't get rid of it, you know? So she was known to be,
especially if the internet has it, it's there forever.
oh, yeah. And they knew she was like a palm reader. The family was known for treasure digging, divining rods, seer stones. The whole thing was translated. The whole Book of Mormon came to be because he was looking in a hat with a seer stone. And so it's going to go back to John D. And do you know who John D is?
No, explain that to me
so
too.
He's an old cat. You're good. He's an occult. He was an occult magician for the Queen in the 1600s.
Really?
And have you heard of the Enochian alphabet?
No.
Okay, it's the alphabet of angels, and it was given to him because they were doing sigils and like calling down angels, him and his scribe, and they were doing it with a hat. And so they, you know, just because there's an angel there doesn't mean it's a good angel, people. You got to remember what the scriptures say. You don't know what you're entertaining. So they got this whole alphabet, and it goes into Latin, and it's very widely used. Well, that became multiple religions, that whole John D thing. And then think of another one. Okay, so let's go to Jack Parsons and Scientology and Ron Hubbard. What did they do? They channeled a angel. They went out in the desert and they wife swapped. And then here comes this. You got to translate this book. And what happened to the book? It becomes a religion. Same thing with Muhammad. It became a religion. He saw an angel. Same kind of thing. And polygamy.
Same freaking story. Repackaged, sprinkled some new sprinkles and glitter on it, and then smack it across the face of a bunch of masses of people that are just freaking waiting to suck the sack of bullshit.
Yes, it's truth. It's true. And then not only that one, it's like multiple. Here's my favorite one. Crowley. What did Crowley see? He didn't see it. He didn't see an angel, but he saw to Egypt, right? Alien. Yes. And he saw Awas. And Awas, because he was already dark, he wouldn't have responded to a light angel being. He would have been like, get out of here. So instead, it presented as an alien. What did it do? It told him to write a book. He wrote a book. It became Thelema, and Thelema is now a religion. Boom.
The king of darkness, the prince of darkness, the author of all lies, has many fucking faces and many ways to not only trick you, but also have you doing his bidding. And it's amazing how you broke that down and connected it to every other cultic start for every other religion. And this is no bullshit. This is facts, guys. I think, look, I'm not talking shit here, but I am talking shit. Even Moses got high off a tree and wrote the 10 Commandments. I'm fucking sorry. I'm bashing on everything, but it's the truth. Look, everything comes from like getting... Yeah. And
even the high thing, a lot of people say, well, Joseph Smith was high when this happened. I don't think he was, because he was very devoted and very seeking. And if you go seek knowledge from different entities, you're going to get an answer. Like, he was doing sigil magic. There's parchments that I sent you with sigils on them, calling down specific angels, jubilidants. There's like specific things noted on there. And so all of those parchments were in the family's possession. And what the church does is they say, oh, that was folk magic. It wasn't real. Or they'll do some stuff like that was his brother's. And I'm okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of like what the Catholics did with all these pagan holidays. They just, Saturnalia became Christmas, and they just slapped Christmas on it. They repackaged Valentine's Day was another. Yeah, it's looking wild. So it's just repackaging it and then putting more sprinkles. So let's kind of like turn and mold this conversation. You're giving me 24 years of experience. You have some more deep stuff that you haven't gone into. You kind of danced around the question, but I'm gonna come back to it later on. And then you said, and then you mentioned to me that you started seeing how they started developing cultic behavior, cultic ritual. The higher you got up there, the more you were exposed to these cultic rituals, where
they are rituals.
People of the high end were authorized, what you said, they were worthy to being in a temple.
Yes.
So
I finally became worthy. And I went through, they give you, they initiate you. So do Freemasons. They anoint you. That so do Freemasons. They give you new underwear. So do Freemasons. New underwear. And you were naked. Back in the day, you were naked. When I went through, this shit was naked. It was like a poncho cut up the sides, and then they go in, not sexually, but they go in and like bless your loins and touch you and stuff. And I'm so indoctrinated at this point that all I could think of was, it's a woman and she can't do this blessing because she doesn't have any authority because she's a woman. And I finally said something. I was like, hey, lady, where's the dude? And she's like, oh, you're not dressed. That we can't have that. I'm like, yeah, but you can't do a blessing. Like my 12-year-old son can do a blessing. You can't. And she's like, it's different. It's different in the temple. It's different. And so then you get through that part. This stuff is 2 hours long, more than. And then you go through and you do this creation story and you go to the Garden of Eden. It's all painted. It's like amazing.
Oh God, we have to get we're part two here. Going.
Oh, it's so much stuff.
Okay, so definitely part two. You're coming back in the next 2 weeks and we're dropping Mormon 2. We have to.
And we got to have pictures. Yeah, we got to put the pictures. And so they can be like, boom.
You know what? This was like a little starter for me. And usually we don't do these long episodes. And fuck.
So, you're like, hold on, what?
You gave me 4 different doors to open right now.
Yes. I'm gonna go. And it's a lot. So you go through you're in the Garden of Eden. And it's, they don't believe in one God. They believe in 3. They believe the Holy Ghost, Jesus, and God are all different. And so it shows God, but they call him Elohim, up in the heavens talking to Michael, and later they'll change his name, and that's important. I'll tell you why in a sec. But and they're all talking amongst themselves, and they're like, we should go down and visit Adam and see if he's okay, and like, oh, he's sad, we need to make him a woman, and da 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 da. So you're doing all this stuff, and you're in all white. You have a veil on, you have a robe sash, you have not the apron yet, and everybody's in white, and the guys have these big like Baker Pillsbury hats. They look like the Pillsbury Doughboy hat.
Like
I don't know,
like Quaker hats?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
And so we've got that going, and the men are on one side and the women are on the other, and then they lead you through this. So like at some point they get thrown out of the garden, right? Because they're tempted by Lucifer. Lucifer comes. And if you go to a live session, they reenact this shit like a play. If you go to the other ones, it's a movie, but this can be a play. And like the devil comes. And then so he's trying to pray. Adam's like praying.
That's a ritual, bro. That's a fucking ritual.
It's so much. It gets so much worse. And so they're there praying, and he's like praying Pele El, which used to mean, they used to say that, but then people got smart because of the internet, and it means, oh, false God, hear my mouth. Now they say, oh God, hear the words of my mouth. So he's down there praying, and he's praying for help from God, but who shows up? Lucifer. And Lucifer's like answering your prayer, and he's like, hey, yo, you're kind of naked, so put this apron on. So we all stand, and everybody's like, everybody please stand. And they stand, and they're like, please put your apron on. Okay, so we put our little fig leaf apron on, which used to be a Freemason apron. It's way different now, because my grandma told me, my great grandma, she's like, they used to be so much better. And I was like, yeah, okay, this is all weird. I'm actually freaking out, like, because I'm like, what are we doing? And then so I tell my grandma, I'm like, okay, well, what's happening? And she's like, don't worry, you'll get used to it. And so I'm like, okay. So then after this long ass thing where you're in the garden and everything, you got to go to heaven. Okay. They're going to teach you the signs and symbols and the tokens to get past the angels and sentinels at the veil. Okay.
Fuck out, dude.
So, yeah, no, this gets good. And so instead of the Freemason handshakes that I sent you, like there's one called the sure sign of the lion's paw. He changed it to the sure sign of the nail, but it's the same thing. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so they have a fake, like a big curtain with little handholds, and you have to stick your hand through the hole and do the secret handshakes with God on the other side so that you can get to heaven. And so we're trying to get to heaven. And then my husband, we all get new names. Oh, we have to get a new name. Also, Freemasons get a new name. And you're never to tell that name ever outside of the temple. And my husband couldn't even tell me his name because he tells his name to God. So God calls him, says, what's his name? Say it's like Jesse. I don't know. It's probably Abraham or some crap. Okay. So he's like, Abraham, come through the veil. But then God doesn't call me. My husband does because he is my God. So I have to tell my husband my name, but he doesn't tell me his name ever. I still don't know it to this day.
Get the fuck out, dude. Wait, where did he get out? He got out, right? Why can't he tell you now?
We got divorced and he went on a crazy meth bender. And so I don't know what he believes anymore, but I still don't know.
Oh God.
Whoa. And so then eventually we get to heaven in these fancy rooms, and then we're going to get married. So we kneel over an altar in all this crap. You don't wear your wedding dress. Like you don't go down an aisle. You could wear your wedding dress if you want to, but then they started putting stipulations that they couldn't be poofy because you couldn't get to the altar. You have to kneel. You kneel over an altar and hold hands over the top, and you look into infinity mirrors. You know what I'm talking about? Like witch mirrors, like where you can see forever. Mm. And then they tell you you're going to be married for time and all eternity. That's not even biblical. What does the Bible say? The Bible says, no, there's no marriage in heaven, right? Like,
yo,
no.
Dude, they have perversed the ceremonies that we deem in regular, normal, world-renowned culture. They have perverted everything. I don't even think the Mormon, just the fact that they divided, because I mean, I come from a very Protestant area of Christianism, and I fucking hate religion, man-made religion, believe me.
I don't like religion.
There was the thing where, you know, you think you're doing something like getting married and having sex after being married, and all these are all things that are right, like positive and shit. And then having an intimate relationship with God, and not praising any other fucking God or any other statue like the Catholics do, or even the fact of like worshiping your own husband. This is all,
or your children.
Satanic, but this is like you're breaking the divine connection with the Almighty Creator.
Oh, it's satanic because we're worshiping another God, like I told you about that.
Even dividing the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and God. Like you're dividing the Almighty.
They divide it. Yes, it's not one. And so then, after this whole disaster's over, like everybody, then you've got your new underwear, okay? And they look like boxer shorts for women, clear down to your knee. You never get to be sexy ever no more. And then they come to here like a shirt, like a cap sleeve shirt, no tank tops, nothing ever again. And you can never take them off unless you're showering, going to the gym, swimming, or making more Mormons. I like to joke about that, but that's it. And then you have rules. You can't put them on the floor. You have to put them in like your right arm first, your right leg first, like all this. And there's ways to
put it on.
Yes. And on the nipples, there is a compass and square. And I did not know this. I wore them for how long? I had no idea. I asked my grandma, and then there's
a compass on your nipple.
So it's like this, and then there's that one, and then
so you're surrounded. You're putting it on your body, angle. On your own temple.
And you cannot even put your underwear on, like my bra or whatever has to go over the top. It has to be nearest to your skin. Period.
Sounds like sex magic and satanic cult worship. This is dark. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And then there's also the ruler sideways on the knee, and then the ruler right angle ruler on the other nipple. So all of these are the same for men and women. They're pure white. You have to keep them white. And the only place to buy them is at the church. And you have to go to the church store, and you have to have your little card, and it's all they're not the richest church for no reason. You have to scan your stuff. You can't even buy anything unless you scan it, because they know scammers, like they know. And so it's a whole thing.
Registered on a database and only using.
It's like a barcode. It's a barcode. Yeah.
Get the fuck
you gotta.
Out of here,
yeah. And then they're like $35 a pair for underwear, and you have to have a lot of them.
Making a killing on underwear.
Yeah, you gotta have them. And the only time they're not white is if you're in the military. They make ones for the military because they have to. And so, yeah, so now they've made money. By the way,
It's a little silly if you ask me.
the outfit that I wore to go through, the little robe and all that stuff I described, that also costs money, and you can only get it from the church. And it's about $150 to get your outfit.
You know, they
And
do,
so,
they hold up a lot of power during
Oh.
not only the culture, but the economic balance in Utah. And this
yes.
is now I understand why. Now I understand why. And you said 8 out
Well,
of 10.
and not
people are-
just Utah, they got power, nobody's business. And if you ever watch when they meet, like presidents or whatever, the president of the church meets like the president, they'll do those little secret handshakes sometimes. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
watch their hands, they one knows another. And so somebody finally said, hey, are you guys Freemasons? And they were like, we are the true Freemasonry. We hold the true Freemasonry. That's what got Joseph Smith killed, because he turned it and said, I'm the one, I have divine knowledge. And while he's running for president of the United States, he's trying to pull this. He ran for president of the United States also. And so people were like, no, you don't screw over the Freemasons. I'll tell you that right now. If you do, they're going to come for you. And he was dead not too long after that.
Ha ha. You
They
had a
tarred
loud
and
mouth.
feathered
You
him.
had a loud mouth.
They tarred and feathered him. They chased him out of multiple states. They did so much stuff, and it is wild. Like,
Heidi,
Yes.
you have, first of all, I am overwhelmed again with the information you brought in. Unfortunately, we have to make this into a, unfortunately for me, I have more
Yes.
content to put out. Heidi Love
you're good.
talking to
Yes.
me about her experience in the Mormon religion and how she battled her way out, and she saw some occultic religions, a fucking occultic underwear, which I never thought was going to be true. She briefly talked about Abrac, and that's something with the
Mhm.
sigil magic, with all the relics and the
Oh,
elixirs
yeah.
and the stuff that she sent me. I need to make sure that I'm gonna post these pages up. If you guys want to know more, and I'm 100% sure she has more content with more details explaining everything that she has learned throughout the ages, because you are a freaking old soul with a lot of
Yes.
wisdom,
Yes.
and you're putting it all out here. I can never be more thankful for you coming onto our
Thank
show and
you.
opening up and just sprinkling with a little bit of knowledge of
Little
what's
bit
really
of
going on.
sprinkles. Yes. Because it's so
Little-
hard to contain it into
Yeah.
one. It's like a lot of things.
No, you can't.
It's so much. And so when you're going through, and I do want to mention this, if somebody that's Mormon offers to put your name on the book for the temple, okay, let me explain before you say yes, because you have to say yes, just like all evil, right? We have to invite the vampire in, okay? If they do that, that's one of the creepiest things I saw in the temple is they take the list, they print out all the names for that week or whatever, and then everybody brings their hand, and that's that chanting that I sent you where they're like
Are
chanting
you
in a circle.
serious?
Yes. And they start saying, oh God, hear the words of my mouth. Oh God, hear the words of my mouth. And they do it
It's
in
like
a
they're
circle.
presenting your soul, your name, and who you are
Yes.
in the world as a divine creation to a false god.
Yes.
Wow, the author of lies. Jesus.
Mhm.
Damn, this is
So,
amazing.
and it gets better because after you go through the first time for yourself, then you got to go through again, right? Because the temple work is like a big deal. So guess who you go through the next time? Dead people. And what did I say Abraxas was? A necromancer. That's right.
Wait, wait. Are you gonna jump into some like dead people having sex? You fuck a dead corpse?
No, but
No.
you're doing sigil magic for dead people. They even did it for Jews. They even did the Jews that died for what they believed. And finally somebody sued them.
This is
So
spirit
thank
cooking,
heaven.
bro. This is alchemy. This is
Crazy.
oh my, what a way to end the show.
I had to
Heidi
throw it
Love.
out there. I had to put it out there because it's wild. And there's so much more. Like this is like the
Necromancy.
very skim. Yeah, this is the skim of the skim. And by the way, their genealogy site that is like widely, they're very into genealogy, is completely pours into ancestrydna.com. So yeah.
So they own the database. Yeah.
They don't
Got
own
everything.
it. They circle around that. They don't own it, But
You know, they got you coming and going. You know, the Kiss, the band, they would sell condoms and then they would with their faces on it, and they would sell caskets with their faces on it. They got you coming and they got you going.
see, that's the way it is. And Joseph, he was that way, man. There's so much occult behavior and so much stuff, but like I said, we just, you have to graze the surface. Yeah.
What a way to grace the surface.
What's your number one big last question for me? You got a big one? You got anything
You know
else?
what? Well, I think you fucking overthrew it. You threw a Hail Mary pass with that freaking necromancy stuff.
Yeah.
Where they're probably not fucking their corpses, but god damn, I mean, look, I wanted to go
Who
into
knows?
the
Who knows
symbolism.
at the high level? I don't even want to know, you know?
I know there's murder cases, rape cases, underage female. I mean, this is very like very cut and paste shit that's on YouTube that's legally heard around the world and published by other content creators. But what you're bringing to me on what you're presenting right here, this is next level shit, and I'm afraid almost to even think about and start digging and opening these doors. Necromancy is gonna be the next name. Necromancy. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes,
I am making sure that this is gonna be the opener for our next meet. So I want you to please come back on the show. You're gonna be. I know for a fact that we're gonna start making more content creations and I cannot wait to promote this episode, and I cannot wait to promote Heidi Love from the Unfiltered Rise podcast. Let them know one more time where they can find you.
All right. I'm Heidi Love at the Unfiltered Rise, and I'm serviced at any podcasting services, wherever you like to watch a podcast, as well as YouTube. I do have some really in-depth shows about the occult beginnings of Mormonism on there. With Josh Monday. So if you go look on there, you'll be able to go see exactly what I'm talking about.
Bi-weekly or weekly?
Pictures. I'm weekly. Yes.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. I'm gonna learn everything I can from you. I'm gonna jump on and start editing.
Let's go.
I'm super excited. Heidi, dude, you freaking blew it up. This is gonna this is amazing. I want to thank you again. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your wisdom, and I want to thank you for your content. I want you to never lose this fire. Keep doing what you're doing. Be very careful. Take care of your own. Pray. Have that intimate relationship with God, and continue. Do not stop, because there's a lot of people that could be waking up. Maybe not the sheep, but other lions, and that's the main point. I want to thank you again. I want to thank the listeners for coming in, and make sure you check her out. Heidi Love, the Unfiltered Rise podcast, Unfiltered Rise podcast on Instagram. Check her out in the description of the show. Her link tree is underneath, and also show some love and drop 5-star reviews on her podcast. And check her out every Monday, weekly, every single week. Absolutely free for now. I hope you monetize and make some money out of it, because everybody needs to eat. And continue dropping this amazing content that you're bringing. Any other final words you have?
All glory to God, because he saved me and I got out, and that's why I do this, because if I can help like even one person, then that's amazing. So
you're helping me. I can't wait to go tell my wife about she has a cousin that's Mormon, dude. I'm trying to tell you a secret here. Like she has a cousin, but she's Latin, she's Latina. So that was like, well, I don't know if that even works.
The Latina thing, wait until you hear about the racism. And I can't believe that any brown, black, Pacific Island, I can't believe anybody would join the church, because they literally, this is a quote from their prophets, who they believe received direct revelation, direct from God, that if they joined the church with the Native Americans, that they would become more white and delightsome. Yeah.
What the
Disgusting.
fuck?
Disgusting.
Yeah.
So
I know that she keeps her kids like locked in a room, and she lets them out maybe once a day. Just to eat and then come back. Like it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Like she's very, but she lives in a beautiful home. Don't get me wrong, she's beautiful. Yeah, like she's she's got money.
Yeah.
Like,
those Mormons know how to do that.
Yo, Heidi Love, thank you so much for connecting. I love your energy. I love your voice. And again, check her out.
I'm so sorry about the voice. Thank you again.
All right, thank you. Have a great one.
Paranoid Radio.